child Schmidley. What kind of name is that?
Well, I don't know. He's coming with me regardless.
I cannot entrust your safety to someone named Schmidley.
I can. He's a great guy. He's coming.
No! You tell this blasted Schmidley he has no place at your side!
How could you be so cruel? You know he saved your life back when we fought the Crownless.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. You are not taking Schmidley.
While many people have been eyeing Suisui in the second half of 3.5, perhaps less than decent reasons, a lot of people have been hypothesizing on the inspirations that she could be based on. A lot of them are readily observable for quite a while now, such as how she links the mythological birds, the character archetype of the scholar, as well as how she links the traditional water sleeve dance. This video isn't a character kit breakdown for Suisui. After all, I'm sure there's plenty of people doing that already. However, if you're interested in what certain parts of culture inspire Suisui's design, from Chinese idioms to mythology, then let's get started with the video. As always, a warning that this video will contain spoilers for the 3.5 story. And let's get started.
见字如面，荆州风景，勿念。那日一别，天光尚浅。
One of the particularly interesting parts of Suisui, before we get into more of the complex aspects of her inspirations, is something as simple as her name. As siblings, it may not surprise you that Yangyang and Suisui's names are related to one another in a rather interesting yet simple meaning, quite intentionally chosen by their parents. Yangyang's name takes from the character of yang, the word for a seed, while Suisui's name takes from sui, the word for an ear or kernel of something. For instance, Yumi Sui would mean a kernel of corn. Both sisters are named for particular parts of the plant at different growth stages, both being seeds of a sort, but of course the ear or kernel is older and more mature than the ungrown seed itself. So while these two names are related, the sisters' parents use a bit of wordplay to essentially show which was the younger and older sibling. It was quite helpful that unlike Yangyang Shenling, Hiro directly name-dropped what Suisui's bird was called, the Chongming. The Chongming, otherwise known as the four-eyed bird, is an actual mythological beast with two pupils in one eye, seen to ward off evil spirits and only appear during auspicious times. Its double-pupiled eyes were seen as being able to make all things clear, bringing clarity to even the murkiest of situations, which is something you can see even from Suisui's drip marketing. Dawn of truth draws near. There is a famous tale about the Chongming when it was presented as a tribute to Emperor Yao, who was mesmerized by its cry that stirred the heavens itself, heralding peace and prosperity.
书籍《拾遗记》中说到呀，有一个西域国家献上了一种鸟，叫做虫鸣，双瞳啊，就是眼睛里面呢两个瞳孔，状如鸡，鸣如凤。别看起来跟野鸡似的，特别能打，能搏逐猛兽虎狼，还能呢驱除妖灾。但是呢，每年才来一次，有时候呢也隔几年来一次。百姓们觉得呀，这种鸟可以保佑平安。
Ever since, because the Chongming looked similar to a rooster, people would hang cutouts of roosters in their doors during the first day of the Lunar New Year, to ward off evil spirits and for good luck. One thing you may notice is that Suisui, all around her drip marketing, character and story, advocates for peace and prosperity, in the same vein as another character with many avian and bird motifs, Li, who works towards the same goal.
I'll make a peaceful and prosperous world for everyone. Yes. According to the village teacher, that means children will no longer be in danger from monsters. We'll all have enough to eat and stable lives.
This is far from an accidental repetition of characterization, as one thing you may notice with Chinese mythology is that many mythical birds are seen as heralds of peace and fortune, only appearing during auspicious times in history. We have the Fenghuang, which Changli is based on, as well as the Shenyao or Lenyao, which Yangyang's Shenling bird is inspired by, both of which represent peace and prosperity. In fact, within the Shiji, or record of lost histories, from which the previously mentioned Chongming legend has come from, Emperor Yao is recorded as saying, "It, the Chongming, is a spiritual bird, like the Lun and Fenghuang. It should not be confined to a cage. We should allow it to come and go freely." You can even see this legend reflected within Suisui's signature weapon, which reads, "When the divine bird lowers its gaze, the mountains hush and the rivers still. Yet, when it raises its head again to loose a piercing cry, the slumbering sun shall rise from beyond the sea of clouds." As such, the reason why Chongming and Suisui both advocate for the same thing, peace and prosperity, is actually because of the mythical birds they are inspired by, both of which are connected and seen as auspicious omens, only appearing during fortunate and peaceful times.
You're right. I am greedy. Greedy enough to want to keep everyone safe. Greedy enough to dream of an ending where no one bleeds.
Alongside Suisui's goal for wishing for peace and prosperity, throughout her character descriptions and stories, she often discusses everyday life of the people, with each of her character stories split into the 4 seasons. Her character title that you attain when you S6 her is also quite peculiar, talking about cooking fires burning in every home. This expression, which you can actually see repeated within one of Kuro's posts that contains a yearning for peace brought by the Chongming bird, is actually a famous Chinese idiom that represents, well, you guessed it, peace and prosperity. Translated roughly as 10,000 homes alight, 10,000 cooking fires, or something of that like, it is a visual image of a city where everyone is able to afford to light up their homes, a symbol of peaceful and prosperous times. You can even see within Suisui's ideals voice line, she says, "I want the warm light of every home burning, always burning, forever." In Chinese culture, the burning of a fire in a home is a representation of the endurance of people and civilization, of everyday life continuing and persevering, something that has been echoed already within the 3.5 story.
It remained home. What is broken, we fix. What is destroyed, we rebuild.
Beyond our courtyard lay an entirely different world. I was drawn to the docks, to the groan of ropes biting into wooden pilings as freighters moored, the shouts of vendors, and the rhythmic clack of abacus beads. To me, those sounds were more enchanting than any melody.
As such, when you observe Suisui's stories, she often talks and interacts in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. This simple thing is more than just an everyday occurrence, but for her is a representation of human perseverance and the fortune of auspicious times. When she makes a bet to sin, she seeks a resolution that is free from suffering and sacrifice, saying that she will be greedy for such an outcome that maximizes the fortune of the people. When you consider how she already takes great inspiration from the Chongming bird and what it represents, you can begin to see how all of these inspirations weave together to form a part of her character, which may not be as clear as just looking at her character from the surface.
At first, I only saw the bustle, the lovely noise of it all. It was only later that I came to see that peace and prosperity aren't a given. They're fragile things, held together only by those who tend them. I decided then to be such a person. I love this land, but I love the life humming within it even more. I could never settle for the safety of a quiet corner while others struggle.
While her sister Yangyang devoutly follows the blade and path of a martial soldier, Suisui is the polar opposite, waving about a folding fan and looking like she has never held a blade in her life. This contrasting depiction is actually quite well known in Chinese culture as the differentiation between the soldier and the scholar. Especially for men in ancient China, it was seen that to be respectable in society, one would have to showcase it through either martial prowess or intellect, hence these two roles. As Suisui says herself, she holds no sword or blade in her hands. She is not a warrior, but a taciturn merchant, the head of the Chongming Commerce Guild. This role is complemented with a weapon of choice, the folding fan rather than the sword. In ancient China, especially within the Jiangnan area from which most of Shuangfang and Mengzhou seem to actually be based on, which you can watch my video about Mengzhou's real map inspirations over here, by the way, the folding fan was seen as a tool and symbol of Wuthering, or cultured, educated people. This provides the image of not a warrior who fights for peace, but a scholar who does this through other means, poring over books and records, strategizing and formulating. I think Suisui's own character description says it best. Wielding a water fan, she weaves business deals into a grand tapestry of trade. Though she knows no swordplay, her financial mastery stitches together a lasting peace for the world. When you check Suisui's forte moveset, you will notice that it's quite tied to manipulating water, and she even dances through air as if she was swimming through it. It probably does not surprise you at this point that this is based on a real style of dance called the water sleeve dance, that is even an official technique of Peking opera. As the name suggests, it utilizes both cloth and careful body movement to create the impression that one is moving through water. It is said that the water sleeve dance is designed to communicate the beauty of flowing clouds and running water, and it may perhaps not be surprising that with Suisui's release, Kura has even sponsored one of these performances called Shenling Yao, perhaps as a little homage to both Yangyang and Suisui. Considering how fluidly Suisui swims about the air, with her forte even being about manipulating water, I think this reference is quite clear as well. It's not something which is super important for a character and whatnot, only communicating grace and elegance, but even then, it is a nice little homage to Chinese culture. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. If you enjoyed this and found it interesting, feel free to subscribe and share the video, even become a channel member perhaps. As always, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one.